The morning sun streamed through the blinds as Sofia Martinez stood in front of her bedroom mirror, tugging nervously at the collar of her new blue shirt. First days were always hard, but first days at a new school in a new town halfway through the semester felt impossible. She smoothed down her dark hair and practiced a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Sophia, breakfast is ready," her mother called from downstairs. With one last glance at her reflection, Sophia grabbed her backpack and headed down to the kitchen. The smell of toast and eggs filled the air as her mother, Elena, moved efficiently around their small kitchen. Even in her everyday clothes, Elena carried herself with the same confidence she showed at work. A framed photo on the wall showed her mother in a NASA jacket, standing proudly next to a satellite component. "Nervous?" Elena asked, sliding a plate of food across the counter. Sophia nodded, her stomach too knotted to eat much. "What if no one likes me?" Elena sat down beside her daughter and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Just be yourself. That's always enough." "Easy for you to say," Sophia mumbled. "You're literally a rocket scientist." "Satellite communications engineer," Elena corrected with a smile. "And I was the new kid once too, you know. When I first started at NASA, people didn't think I belonged there either." Sophia picked at her eggs. "Did they make fun of you?" "Sometimes," Elena admitted, "but I let my work speak for itself. You'll find your people, honey. Just give it time." The ride to Westfield Middle School was too short. Before Sophia knew it, she was standing at the entrance watching her mother's car disappear around the corner. The school building loomed large and unfriendly, buzzing with kids who all seemed to know exactly where they were going and who they wanted to talk to. Sophia clutched her schedule and made her way to her first class, keeping her eyes down as she navigated the crowded hallways. Room 203, Science with Mr. Reynolds. She found the room just as the bell rang and slipped inside. Feeling every eye turned toward her, the teacher, a tall man with glasses and a bow tie, paused in the middle of taking attendance. "Ah, you must be our new student. Sofia Martinez?" "Yes, sir," she replied quietly. "Well, welcome to Westfield. There's an empty seat in the third row. We're just getting started." Sophia hurried to the empty desk, aware of the curious stares following her. A girl with brightly colored hairbands gave her a brief smile before returning her attention to the front of the room. "As I was saying," Mr. Reynolds continued, "today we're going to start our unit on space science and astronomy. But first, since we have a new student, why don't we do quick introductions? Everyone, please share your name and something interesting about yourself or your family. Let's start with the front row." Sophia's heart pounded as she listened to each student introduce themselves. A boy whose dad was a firefighter. A girl who had 6 cats. A boy who could solve a Rubik's Cube in under a minute. All too soon it was her turn. She stood up, her legs feeling wobbly. "I'm Sofia Martinez. I just moved here from Houston because my mom got transferred. She works at NASA. She's an engineer who designs communication systems for satellites." The moment the words left her mouth, she regretted them. A ripple of whispers spread through the classroom. From the back row, a boy with spiky hair let out a laugh that he quickly tried to disguise as a cough. "NASA? Like actual NASA?" asked a girl with perfectly styled hair who sat near the front. "Yes," Sophia said, her voice getting smaller. "She's been there for 10 years, another boy snickered. "So what, does she hang out with astronauts and stuff?" "Sometimes," Sophia answered truthfully. "She works with the teams that communicate with the International Space Station." "Sure she does," someone whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat. "That's very interesting, Sophia. Thank you for sharing." His tone held a note of disbelief that made Sophia's cheeks burn as she sank back into her seat. "My dad says NASA is just a waste of tax money anyway," the spiky-haired boy added. "They fake most of that space stuff." "That's enough, Tyler," Mr. Reynolds said, but he didn't correct the boy's statement about NASA faking things. "Let's continue with introductions." The rest of the class period passed in a blur. Mr. Reynolds lectured about the solar system, showing slides of planets and moons. Sophia noticed several errors in his presentation, things her mother had corrected her about years ago. But she kept quiet, already regretting drawing attention to herself. When the bell rang, Sophia gathered her things slowly, hoping to avoid conversation. But as she stood up, the girl with the colorful hairbands approached her. "Hey, I'm Lily," she said. "Do you know where your next class is?" Sophia checked her schedule. "Math with Ms. Patel in room 118. I'm going there too. We can walk together if you want. Grateful for the friendly face, Sophia nodded and followed Lily into the hallway. But they had only gone a few steps when Tyler and two of his friends blocked their path. "Hey, NASA girl," he said with a smirk. "Tell us more about your mom's space adventures. Does she know any aliens?" His friends laughed, drawing attention from other students in the hallway. "Leave her alone," Lily said, but her voice was uncertain. "I'm just curious," Tyler insisted. "It's not every day we get someone whose mom is so important. I mean, if she really works there." "She does," Sophia said quietly. "She's a communications engineer." "Right." Tyler rolled his eyes. "And my dad's an astronaut. He just commutes to the moon on weekends." More laughter. Sophia felt her throat tighten. "Why would I lie about that?" she asked. "I don't know, new girl." "Why would you?" Tyler shrugged dramatically. "Maybe because it sounds cooler than saying your mom works at the mall or whatever." Before Sophia could respond, a teacher stepped into the hallway and told everyone to get to class. Tyler and his friends moved on, but not before Tyler called back. "See you later, NASA girl." The nickname followed her through the day. By lunchtime, it seemed like everyone had heard about the new girl, with the supposedly famous NASA mom. Sophia sat at the end of a table, picking at her food while conversations swirled around her. "Is it true your mom's like an astronaut or something?" asked a curious girl who sat down across from her. "No, she's an engineer," Sophia corrected. "She works on satellite systems." "So she doesn't actually go to space?" The girl looked disappointed. "No, but her work does. She helps design the communication systems that—" "Oh." The girl cut her off, already losing interest. "My cousin went to space camp once. He said it was mostly just simulators and stuff." Sophia nodded and went back to her lunch. She thought about texting her mom but decided against it. Elena was probably in meetings all day, helping her new team get up to speed. Besides, what would she say? "Hi, Mom, everyone thinks I'm a liar because of your job?" The afternoon dragged on. In social studies, they were discussing current events, and when the teacher mentioned a recent satellite launch, several students glanced at Sophia and snickered. In English, they were assigned to write about heroes, and when Sophia mentioned she might write about female scientists, Tyler made a loud comment about keeping it real and writing about actual people. By the time the final bell rang, Sophia had been called NASA girl at least a dozen times, each mention accompanied by eye rolls or knowing smirks. As she waited outside for her mother to pick her up, Lily approached again. "Don't let them get to you," she said. They're not used to meeting someone with a parent who does something so cool." "They don't believe me," Sophia said flatly. Lily hesitated. "It is kind of, a big deal. To work at NASA, I know. That's why I'm proud of her." Sophia spotted her mother's car pulling up. "That's my mom. I have to go. See you tomorrow?" Lily asked. Sophia nodded, not sure if Lily would still want to be seen with NASA girl after a day of social pressure. She climbed into her mother's car, forcing a smile. "How was your first day?" Elena asked eagerly. "Fine," Sophia lied. "Just fine." As they drove away from the school, Sophia stared out the window, wondering how long it would be before she could convince her classmates that she wasn't making things up. Or maybe it would be easier to just stop talking about her mother's job altogether, to become invisible rather than infamous. What she didn't know was that in just a few weeks everything would change. But for now, she was just NASA girl, the new kid with the unbelievable story that nobody believed. 3 days later, Sophia sat alone at lunch, pushing corn kernels around her tray with a plastic fork. The cafeteria buzzed with conversation and laughter, but no one sat near her except when all other tables were full. When that happened, whoever ended up beside her would usually scoot their chair a few inches away, as if her supposed lying was contagious. "Is this seat taken?" Sophia looked up to see Lily standing there with her lunch tray. Her hairbands today were purple and yellow. "It's all yours," Sophia said, trying not to sound too eager. Lily sat down and immediately opened her chocolate milk. "So how's your first week going?" Sophia shrugged. "Not great. Yeah, I figured." Lily took a bite of her sandwich. "Tyler's been telling everyone you made up that stuff about your mom." "I didn't," Sophia said, her voice tight. "Why would I lie about something people could easily check?" "I don't think you're lying," Lily said quickly. "It's just, people here don't really know much about NASA, except what they see in movies. And Tyler's dad is always going on about government conspiracies and stuff, so everyone believes him instead of me. Sophia stabbed at a chicken nugget. Great. Not everyone, Lily insisted. I think it's cool your mom works there. What exactly does she do again? For the first time that week, Sophia felt a tiny spark of hope. She pulled out her phone and found a photo of her mother standing next to a large satellite component. She's a communications engineer. She designed systems that let satellites talk to Earth and to each other. Lily leaned closer to see the picture. Whoa, that thing is huge. Did she build that? She helped design it. It's part of a weather satellite that tracks hurricanes and stuff. That's actually really cool, Lily said, sounding genuinely impressed. My mom's an accountant. All she does is stare at spreadsheets all day. Sophia was about to show her another picture when a shadow fell across their table. Tyler stood there with two of his friends, all holding lunch trays. Showing off more fake NASA pictures? He asked with a smirk. They're not fake, Sophia said, quickly putting her phone away. Let me guess. Your mom took a tour once and got someone to take her picture? Or maybe it's just really good Photoshop. Tyler laughed at his own joke and his friends joined in. Why do you even care? Lily asked him. Tyler shrugged. I don't like people who make stuff up to seem important. My cousin tried to get an internship at NASA last year. Do you know how hard that is? They barely take anyone. But suddenly this new girl shows up and her mom just happens to be some big-shot engineer there? Yeah, right. Believe whatever you want, Sophia muttered, fighting back tears. It doesn't change the truth. Whatever, NASA girl, enjoy your lunch. Tyler and his friends walked away, still laughing. Just ignore him, Lily said. He's not worth it. But ignoring Tyler proved impossible. In science class that afternoon, Mr. Reynolds announced their next project. As part of our space science unit, I want each of you to prepare a presentation about a career in the space industry, he explained, passing out instruction sheets. This can be astronauts, mission control specialists, engineers, scientists, anyone involved in space exploration. You'll need to research what education they need, what their daily work involves, and why their job matters. Sophia felt a flicker of excitement. This was her chance to share what she knew about her mother's work. And to make this more interesting, Mr. Reynolds continued, I'd like you to interview someone who actually works in the field if possible. If you can't find someone, you can use online interviews or articles instead. Several hands shot up, including Sophia's. Yes, Darius. Mr. Reynolds called on a boy in the front row. How are we supposed to find someone who works at NASA to interview? He asked. You don't necessarily need someone from NASA, Mr. Reynolds explained. There are many private space companies now, plus universities and research institutes that work on space-related projects. You might be surprised who you can find in your community. Sophia kept her hand raised and eventually Mr. Reynolds acknowledged her. Yes, Sophia? I can interview my mom, she said. Since she works at NASA. The classroom fell silent for a moment, then erupted in poorly concealed laughter and whispers. Mr. Reynolds looked uncomfortable. Well, he cleared his throat. That would be convenient. But perhaps you might want to choose a different career to research, just to expose yourself to something new. Heat rushed to Sophia's face. Even the teacher didn't believe her. My mom really does work there, she insisted, her voice cracking slightly. I can prove it. Mr. Reynolds gave her a look that might have been pity. I'm sure you can, he said in a tone that suggested the opposite. But I still think it might be better for your educational experience to research something different. How about mission control specialists? Or planetary geologists? Before Sophia could argue further, Tyler spoke up from the back of the class. Yeah, NASA girl. Give someone else a chance to make up stories about space people. This time, the laughter was louder and more open. Mr. Reynolds half-heartedly called for quiet but didn't reprimand Tyler for the comment. The presentations will be next Friday, he said, moving on quickly. That gives you just over a week to prepare. I expect 5-minute presentations with visual aids, posters, slideshows, whatever works best for you. For the rest of the class period, students brainstormed ideas and began their research. Sophia sat at her desk, staring at the blank notebook page in front of her. She could feel eyes on her, could hear the occasional whisper and snicker when Mr. Reynolds wasn't paying attention. When the bell rang, she was the first one out the door. That evening, Sophia sat at the kitchen table pushing her dinner around her plate while her mother talked about her day at work. The new satellite project was facing challenges, and Elena had spent hours in meetings trying to solve a problem with the communication array. And then we realized the issue wasn't with the hardware at all, but with the timing sequence in the software, Elena was saying. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the hardest to see when you're too close to the problem. She paused, noticing Sophia's distraction.
Honey, is everything okay?
Sophia put down her fork. Mom, do you have your NASA ID badge here? Elena looked surprised by the question. Of course. It's in my work bag. Why, can I see it? And can I take a picture of it? What's this about, Sophia? Elena's brow furrowed with concern. Did something happen at school? The dam broke. All the frustration and hurt of the past week came pouring out as Sophia told her mother about the nickname, the whispers, and worst of all, the teacher who clearly thought she was lying. And now we have to do this stupid space career project. And Mr. Reynolds wouldn't even let me choose your job because he doesn't believe you really work there. Sophia wiped angrily at the tears that had started to fall. Everyone thinks I'm making it up to sound cool or something. Elena listened without interrupting, her expression growing more troubled. When Sophia finished, she got up and came around the table, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, honey, she said softly. Kids can be cruel sometimes, especially when they encounter something outside their experience. It's not just the kids, Sophia mumbled against her mother's shoulder. The teacher doesn't believe me either. Elena pulled back, her face set with determination. Well, we'll just have to change their minds, won't we? She stood up and went to get her work bag, pulling out her NASA badge with its official photo ID and security clearance information. Take all the pictures you want, and I'll send you some photos from the lab that you can use for your presentation. Mr. Reynolds said I should pick a different career to research. Sophia reminded her. Did he specifically forbid you from researching communications engineers? No, but then that's what you'll research, Elena said firmly. And you'll give the best presentation that class has ever seen. For the first time in days, Sophia felt a spark of hope. Really? Really? Elena squeezed her shoulder. And I'll help you. We can work on it this weekend. That would be awesome, Sophia said, managing a small smile. But they still might not believe me, even with pictures. Elena thought for a moment, then a slow smile spread across her face. What day is your presentation? Next Friday, why? I think I might be able to take a personal day, Elena said, her eyes twinkling with mischief. After all, supporting STEM education is part of NASA's mission too. Sophia wasn't entirely sure what her mother was planning, but the confident look on Elena's face made her feel better than she had all week. Maybe, just maybe, things would turn around. That night, as she lay in bed, Sophia opened the NASA website on her tablet and began researching communications engineers. She didn't care what Tyler or anyone else thought anymore. She was going to create the best presentation possible, not to prove anything to them, but to make her mother proud. And if Mr. Reynolds still didn't believe her after that, well, she had a feeling her mother had something up her sleeve that would change his mind once and for all. The weekend arrived with a welcome break from school. Sophia woke up Saturday morning to the smell of pancakes and the sound of her mother's favorite salsa music playing downstairs. For a moment, she could almost forget about the disaster that was her first week at Westfield Middle School. She found Elena in the kitchen, dancing while she flipped pancakes. The table was already set with plates, syrup, and a bowl of fresh strawberries. Morning, Space Cadet, Elena greeted her with a smile. Ready for Operation Awesome presentation? Despite herself, Sophia grinned. Her mother's enthusiasm was always contagious. I guess so. That's the spirit, Elena said, sliding a stack of pancakes onto Sophia's plate. Fuel up. We've got work to do. After breakfast, they cleared the table and spread out Elena's NASA materials. There were official photos, technical diagrams, and even a small model of a communications satellite that Elena had brought home. First, Elena said, pulling out a notebook, let's outline what you want to cover. What do you think people should know about communications engineers? Sophia thought for a moment. Well, what we do, how we do it, and why it matters. Perfect, Elena nodded approvingly. Always start with the why. People connect with purpose more than details. For the next few hours, they worked together to build Sophia's presentation. Elena explained complex concepts in simple terms, showing Sophia how to break down technical information for her classmates. They found photos of Elena at work, in the lab, at mission control during a satellite launch, and meeting with astronauts who would use the communication system she helped design. "This one's my favorite," Elena said, showing Sophia a picture of herself with a team of engineers, all women, standing in front of a massive satellite dish. "This was my first major project team. We were all so young and nervous, but we built something amazing together." Sophia studied the photo. "Were people mean to you?" "Because you're a woman?" Elena's smile faded slightly. "Sometimes. There weren't many women in my engineering classes in college, and even fewer Latina women. Some people didn't think I belonged there." "What did you do?" "I kept showing up," Elena said simply. "And I did my work so well they couldn't ignore me. Eventually my results spoke louder than their doubts." Sophia thought about that as they continued working. By lunchtime, they had a solid outline for her presentation and had started designing slides. "Let's take a break," Elena suggested. "We need to give our brains some rest." They made sandwiches and ate in the backyard, enjoying the warm sunshine. Sophia's thoughts kept drifting back to school and the upcoming presentation. "Mom," she said suddenly, "what if they still don't believe me? What if I do all this work and everyone just laughs?" Elena put down her sandwich. "Honey, I can't promise that won't happen. There will always be people who choose not to believe the truth, even when it's right in front of them." "So what's the point?" Sophia asked, feeling defeated before she'd even started. "The point is knowing who you are and standing in your truth," Elena said. "I don't do my work at NASA to impress people. I do it because I love solving problems that help us understand our universe better. The opinions of people who don't matter shouldn't change how you feel about yourself or the things you care about." "That's easy for you to say," Sophia mumbled. "You're an adult. You don't have to see these kids every day." "You're right," Elena admitted. "School can be tough. But it's also temporary, and sometimes all it takes is one person to see you for who you really are." "Like Lily," Sophia said, thinking of her new friend. "Exactly. Focus on the people who matter, who try to understand. As for the rest," Elena shrugged. "Their opinions say more about them than about you." After lunch, they returned to work with renewed energy. Elena pulled up videos of satellite launches and mission control operations, showing Sophia what it looked like when years of engineering work finally reached space. "This is the best part," Elena said, her eyes shining as they watched a rocket carrying one of her team's satellites climbing into the sky. "All those long nights, all those problems we had to solve, and then this moment makes it all worth it." Sophia could see why her mother loved her job. It wasn't just about math and machines, it was about connecting people, about making discoveries possible, about being part of something bigger than yourself. By Sunday evening, Sophia's presentation was nearly complete. She had a PowerPoint with photos, videos, and simple explanations of how satellite communications worked. She had practiced her delivery until she could talk about her mother's work clearly and confidently. "I think you're ready," Elena said proudly as they reviewed the final slides. "Just remember to speak slowly and look at your audience, not just at the screen." "I'll try," Sophia promised. "Thanks for helping me, Mom." "Always." Elena hugged her tightly. "Oh, and I almost forgot. I have something for your visual aid." She disappeared into her home office and returned carrying what looked like a piece of metal with complex circuitry attached. "What's that?" Sophia asked. "This," Elena said with a grin, "is a decommissioned component from one of our older satellites. It's been cleared for educational use. You can pass it around during your presentation so everyone can see and touch a real piece of space technology." Sophia's eyes widened. "Seriously? They let you bring that home?" "We have an educational outreach program," Elena explained. "And your teacher might be interested to know that I'm officially authorized to do classroom presentations about NASA careers. But we'll save that surprise for Friday." Monday morning came too quickly. As Sophia walked into school, she felt a familiar knot of anxiety in her stomach. The nickname NASA Girl followed her down the hallway, but today she tried to let it roll off her back. She knew the truth, and soon everyone else would too. In science class, Mr. Reynolds was reviewing the project requirements. "Remember, your visual aids should be clear and informative," he said, "and be prepared to answer questions about your chosen space career." His eyes landed on Sophia, and she saw a flicker of concern. "Sophia, have you selected a different career to research as we discussed?" Before she could answer, Tyler called out from the back. "She's probably still going with her mom, the famous astronaut." "Engineer," Sophia corrected automatically, turning to face him. My mother is a communications engineer, not an astronaut. And yes, Mr. Reynolds, I'm researching communications engineers who design satellite systems. Mr. Reynolds looked uncomfortable. Sophia, I suggested you might benefit from researching a different... You said to research a space career and interview someone in the field if possible, Sophia interrupted, surprising herself with her boldness. That's exactly what I'm doing. Unless there's a specific rule against researching communications engineers. The class went quiet, all eyes moving between Sophia and the teacher. Mr. Reynolds adjusted his glasses, clearly caught off guard by her directness. No, there's no rule against that specific career, he admitted. But then my presentation will be on communications engineers, Sophia said firmly. And it will meet all the project requirements. For a moment she thought Mr. Reynolds might argue further, but instead he just nodded and moved on to the next topic. As he turned to write something on the board, Sophia caught Lily giving her a thumbs up from across the room. The rest of the week flew by in a blur of rehearsals and last-minute adjustments. Sophia practiced her presentation for Lily during lunch on Wednesday, and even managed to answer some tough questions her friend came up with. That was really good, Lily said when they finished. I actually understand how satellites work now. Really? Sophia felt a surge of pride. Yeah. And the part with the actual satellite piece is super cool. No one else will have anything like that. Sophia smiled. But her stomach still churned with nerves when she thought about presenting to the whole class, especially with Tyler and his friends ready to mock her at the first opportunity. On Thursday night, she made one final run-through for her mother. Perfect, Elena declared when Sophia finished. You're going to knock their socks off. I hope so, Sophia said, carefully packing the satellite component in its protective case. Are you sure you can come tomorrow? Wild horses couldn't keep me away, Elena promised. I've already arranged to take the afternoon off. I'll be there right after lunch. The presentations start at 1:30, Sophia reminded her. I'll be there by 1:15, Elena assured her. Try not to worry, honey. Just focus on what you know and why it matters. As Sophia lay in bed that night, she ran through her presentation one more time in her head. She thought about what her mother had said about standing in her truth, about letting her work speak for itself. Tomorrow, one way or another, everyone would know the truth about NASA Girl. She just hoped she was ready for whatever happened next. Friday morning dawned bright and clear. Sophia woke up before her alarm, her stomach already tight with anticipation. Today was the day, presentation day. The day she would either prove everyone wrong or face even more mockery. You've got this, she whispered to her reflection as she brushed her teeth. Just breathe. Downstairs, Elena was already dressed in her NASA polo shirt and dark slacks, her official ID badge clipped to her belt. She looked professional and confident, exactly how Sophia wished she felt. Big day, Elena said, sliding a plate of toast toward her daughter. Eat something. You'll need your strength. Sophia managed a few bites, though food tasted like cardboard.
What if I mess up?
What if I forget what to say? Then you'll take a breath, look at your notes, and keep going, Elena said calmly. Remember, you know this material better than anyone in that classroom, including your teacher. Even you? Sophia asked with a small smile. Well, maybe not better than me, Elena laughed. But you've worked hard on this presentation. Trust that preparation. Before Sophia left for school, Elena handed her a small box. For good luck, she said. Inside was a pin, a small replica of the NASA logo, the same one Elena wore on her own shirt. Really? Sophia looked up, surprised. Really, you've earned it. Elena pinned it to Sophia's shirt collar. Remember, I'll be there right after lunch. Just focus on your classmates until then, not on anyone who might try to discourage you. I will, Sophia promised, touching the pin for reassurance. See you at 1:15. The morning classes dragged by in slow motion. Sophia found it impossible to concentrate on anything except her upcoming presentation. In math class, she missed a problem she would normally have solved easily. In English, she realized the teacher had called her name twice before she snapped back to attention. By lunchtime, her nerves were stretched so thin she could barely eat. You look like you're about to throw up, Lily observed, sliding onto the bench beside her. I might, Sophia admitted. Your presentation is awesome, Lily reminded her. And you said your mom's coming, right? That'll shut everyone up, if she makes it on time. Sophia checked her phone for the 10th time that hour. She had a meeting this morning. She'll be there, Lily said confidently. Try to eat something. You don't want your stomach growling in the middle of your presentation. Somehow Sophia made it through lunch and to science class. She arrived early to set up her laptop and arrange her visual aids on Mr. Reynolds' desk. The satellite component sat in its protective case, ready to be revealed at just the right moment. As students filed in, Sophia noticed several curious glances at her setup. Tyler and his friends came in last as usual, but today he gave her a challenging look instead of his typical mockery. All right, class. Mr. Reynolds began once everyone was seated. Today we'll hear your presentations on space careers. Remember, each person has 5 minutes to present, followed by 2 minutes for questions. Let's be respectful of everyone's hard work. He consulted his list. We'll go in alphabetical order by last name, which means Amara will start, followed by Darius, then Lily. Sophia did a quick mental calculation. As a Martinez, she would be somewhere in the middle, probably after lunch. That gave her mother plenty of time to arrive. The first few presentations went by in a blur. Amara talked about astrobiologists, showing pictures of scientists searching for signs of microbial life on Mars. Darius presented on mission control specialists, complete with a video of Houston's famous mission control during a shuttle launch. Lily's presentation on spacesuit designers was actually interesting, with diagrams showing how the suits protected astronauts from extreme temperatures and radiation. She even brought in material samples similar to what NASA used. Excellent work, Lily, Mr. Reynolds said when she finished. Very informative. By the time they reached the letter K, Sophia was checking the clock obsessively. 12:45, 12:52, 1:05. Mr. Reynolds announced a 10-minute break before the next presentation. When we return, we'll continue with Sophia's presentation, followed by Tyler's. Sophia's heart jumped. She was up right after the break. She quickly checked her phone. No messages from her mother. Is your mom here yet? Lily whispered, coming over to her desk. She should be, Sophia said, trying to mask her worry. She said 1:15. Maybe she's waiting in the office, Lily suggested. Sometimes visitors have to check in first. Maybe. Sophia wasn't convinced. What if her mother's meeting had run long? What if she couldn't make it after all? The break ended all too quickly. Students returned to their seats and Mr. Reynolds called the class to order. Next up is Sophia Martinez.
Presenting on, he consulted his notes.
Satellite communications engineers. Sophia walked to the front of the room on wobbly legs. She connected her laptop to the projector, and her title slide appeared on the screen. Connecting Earth and Space, the work of satellite communications engineers. She glanced at the classroom door. No sign of her mother. Good afternoon, she began, her voice quivering slightly. Today I'm going to talk about communications engineers who design systems for satellites. From the back of the room, Tyler made a coughing sound that sounded suspiciously like fake news. A few students snickered. Sophia took a deep breath and pressed on, clicking to her next slide. Communications engineers solve problems that allow satellites to send and receive information from Earth and from other satellites. Without their work, we wouldn't have GPS, weather forecasts, television broadcasts from around the world, or even phone calls to remote areas. She continued through her slides, explaining the basics of how satellite communications worked and the education needed to enter the field. With each slide, her voice grew steadier, her explanation more confident. This was material she knew well now, thanks to all her preparation with her mother. When she reached the slide showing Elena's team working on a satellite component, she paused. For this presentation, I interviewed my mother, who has worked as a communications engineer at NASA for over 10 years. Tyler didn't even try to disguise his eye roll. Here we go again, he muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Mr. Reynolds frowned but didn't reprimand him. Sophia, please continue, he said, his tone neutral. Sophia felt a flash of anger. Even now, with all her research and preparation, they still didn't believe her. She glanced at the door again. Still no Elena. Fine. She would do this on her own. One of the biggest challenges in satellite communications is overcoming signal degradation, she continued, her voice stronger now, fueled by determination. That's when the signal gets weaker or distorted as it travels long distances through space. She moved to her final slides, showing the real-world impact of the work, how weather satellites had helped predict hurricanes, saving thousands of lives, and how communication satellites connected remote villages to doctors and educators around the world. And now, she said, reaching for the protective case on Mr. Reynolds' desk, I'd like to show you something special. She opened the case and carefully removed the satellite component her mother had given her. It was about the size of a paperback book, made of metal and circuit boards, with NASA's logo clearly visible on one side. This is an actual component from a decommissioned NASA satellite, she explained, holding it up for everyone to see. It's part of a signal amplifier that helped boost transmissions between the satellite and ground stations. The classroom was suddenly quiet. Even Tyler seemed momentarily speechless. May I see that? Mr. Reynolds asked, his brow furrowed in what looked like skepticism. Sophia carefully handed him the component. He turned it over in his hands, examining the NASA markings and the complex circuitry. This appears to be authentic, he said slowly, sounding surprised. Where did you get this, Sophia? Before she could answer, the classroom door opened. All heads turned to see Principal Garcia step into the room, followed by a woman in a navy blue NASA jacket with the agency's insignia prominently displayed on the chest. The official ID badge hanging around her neck caught the light as she entered. Elena Martinez had arrived. The room fell completely silent. Mr. Reynolds stood frozen, the satellite component still in his hands, his mouth slightly open in shock. I apologize for interrupting, Elena said smoothly, her voice carrying clearly through the silent classroom. I was told this is Mr. Reynolds' science class? Yes, Mr. Reynolds stammered, quickly putting down the component. And you are? Elena Martinez, NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, she replied, extending her hand. I'm here for Career Day. I understand you're learning about space industry professions? Principal Garcia stepped forward. Mr. Reynolds, Ms. Martinez contacted our office about giving a presentation to supplement her daughter's project. I hope this timing works for your class? Mr. Reynolds looked from the principal to Elena to Sophia, his face cycling through surprise, disbelief, and finally, embarrassment. Of course, he managed. Sophia was just finishing her presentation. Perfect timing then, Elena said with a smile. Walking to the front of the room to stand beside her daughter, she gave Sophia a quick wink before turning to the class. Hello, everyone. As Sophia mentioned, I'm a communications engineer at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, where I work on designing satellite systems that help us understand our planet and explore beyond it. Sophia scanned the classroom, taking in her classmates' reactions. Most looked stunned. Lily was grinning widely. And Tyler was staring at Elena with his mouth hanging open, all traces of his usual smirk completely gone. As her mother began explaining her work, showing the official NASA videos and images that Sophia had only been able to describe before, a warm feeling of vindication washed over her. She hadn't needed to make anything up. The truth had been enough all along, and judging by Mr. Reynolds' increasingly red face, it was a truth he was finally ready to believe. Elena moved through the classroom with natural confidence, the kind that came from years of giving technical presentations to NASA officials and international space agencies. She smiled at the students, who stared back with wide eyes and dropped jaws. I brought a few things to show you today, she said, setting her NASA backpack on Mr. Reynolds' desk. Things that might help you understand what we do at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. She pulled out a folded piece of fabric and shook it open, revealing a full-sized NASA mission flag with patches from various satellite projects arranged around the border. Each of these patches represents a mission I've worked on, she explained, pointing to several of them. This one here was my first project, a weather satellite that helps predict severe storms days in advance. Mr. Reynolds had finally recovered enough to speak. Ms. Martinez, this is quite a surprise. We had no idea Sophia's mother that I actually work for NASA? Elena finished for him, her voice pleasant but with a hint of steel underneath. Yes, Sophia mentioned there was some confusion about that. She turned back to the class. Before I continue, I want to thank Sophia for her excellent presentation. From what I saw, she explained our work very accurately. Sophia felt her cheeks flush with pride as her mother gave her a warm smile. Now, who has questions about what we do at NASA? Elena asked. Nearly every hand in the room shot up, including Tyler's. Elena pointed to a girl in the front row. Do you get to talk to astronauts? The girl asked. Absolutely, Elena nodded. In fact, part of my job is making sure the communication systems on the International space station work properly so the astronauts can talk to Earth. I've trained several crews on how to troubleshoot the equipment if something goes wrong. She pointed to another student. Have you ever been to space yourself? Elena laughed. No, I'm not an astronaut. I'm an engineer. But the systems I help design go to space, which is almost as exciting. The questions continued, and Elena answered each one with enthusiasm, often expanding her answers to include fascinating details about life at NASA. She showed them a video of a recent satellite launch, pointing out where her team's communications module was located inside the spacecraft. That little box right there, she said, pausing the video to point at a small section of the satellite, contains 3 years of our work. It's no bigger than a microwave oven, but it can transmit data across millions of miles of space. Even Mr. Reynolds seemed captivated now, his earlier embarrassment giving way to genuine interest as he asked about the practical applications of satellite technology. Actually, Elena said, reaching into her bag again, I brought something to demonstrate that. She pulled out what looked like a small tablet computer with a thick antenna attached to one side. This is a satellite phone, she explained. It works anywhere on Earth because it connects directly to communications satellites in orbit, not to cell towers. We use these in remote locations or during disasters when regular communications might be down. She turned it on and the screen lit up with NASA's logo. Would anyone like to see how it works? I would, Tyler said, surprising everyone by speaking up. The usual mockery was gone from his voice, replaced with what sounded like genuine curiosity. Elena nodded to him. Come on up. Tyler hesitated for a moment, then walked to the front of the room. Elena handed him the satellite phone. This model connects to a network of satellites that orbit about 22,000 miles above Earth, she explained. When you make a call, your voice travels all that distance into space and back down again in less than a second. Tyler turned the device over in his hands, looking at it with newfound respect. That's actually pretty cool, he admitted. It is cool, Elena agreed, and it saves lives. After Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, these phones were the only way some communities could call for help. She took the phone back and continued her presentation, showing the class more examples of how satellite technology affected their everyday lives, from the GPS in their parents' cars to the weather forecasts on their phones. Throughout it all, Sophia watched her classmates' reactions change from skepticism to fascination. Nobody was snickering now. Nobody was calling her NASA girl with that mocking tone. Instead, several students were sneaking glances at her with what looked almost like respect. When Elena finished her demonstration, Principal Garcia stepped forward. Thank you, Ms. Martinez, for taking time from your busy schedule to visit our school today. This has been incredibly informative. It's my pleasure, Elena replied. At NASA, we believe in inspiring the next generation of scientists and engineers. She looked around the classroom. Speaking of which, I have a special announcement. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center is starting a new program for middle school students interested in space science and engineering. It's a Saturday academy where students can learn from NASA professionals and even work on real projects. She handed a stack of brochures to Mr. Reynolds. The program is looking for students with curiosity, determination, and creative thinking skills. Based on what I've seen today, I think several of you would be excellent candidates. Mr. Reynolds took the brochures, looking slightly dazed. Thank you. I'll make sure these get distributed. As the bell rang, signaling the end of class, students gathered their things, many of them crowding around Elena with more questions. Sophia hung back, watching with a mixture of pride and amazement as her mother handled the attention with grace. Mr. Reynolds approached her, clearing his throat awkwardly. Sophia, I owe you an apology. I should have given you the benefit of the doubt instead of... Well, I made an incorrect assumption, and for that I'm sorry. It's okay, Sophia said, surprised by how easily the words came. With her mother's triumph still buzzing in the air, it was hard to hold on to anger. Your presentation was excellent, he added, one of the best in the class. You clearly put a lot of work into it. Thank you, she said, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. It wasn't just that people finally believed her. It was that her work had been recognized on its own merits. As the classroom emptied, Lily bounced over, practically vibrating with excitement. That was amazing. Your mom is so cool. Did you see everyone's faces when she walked in? Especially Tyler's. I thought his eyes were going to pop out of his head. Sophia laughed. Yeah, that was pretty satisfying. Are you going to apply for that Saturday program? Lily asked. I don't know, Sophia said, considering it. Maybe. Would you do it with me? Are you kidding? Absolutely. Lily grinned. I never thought about working in space stuff before, but your mom makes it sound awesome. As they chatted, Tyler approached hesitantly. He stood awkwardly for a moment, scuffing his shoe against the floor before finally speaking. Hey, Sophia, your mom's presentation was really interesting. Sophia raised an eyebrow, waiting. Lily crossed her arms, giving Tyler a skeptical look. He sighed. Look, I'm sorry for calling you a liar and all that NASA girl stuff. I was wrong. The apology clearly didn't come easily to him, but it seemed genuine. Thanks, Sophia said simply. Do you think... He hesitated. Do you think your mom would mind if I asked her a few more questions about that satellite phone? My uncle works for a disaster relief organization, and I was thinking something like that could help them. Sophia glanced over at her mother, who was still talking with Principal Garcia and Mr. Reynolds. I'm sure she wouldn't mind, she said. She loves talking about her work with people who are actually interested. Tyler nodded. Cool, thanks. He walked over to join the small group around Elena. Well, that's something I never thought I'd see, Lily remarked. Tyler apologizing. Me neither, Sophia admitted. I guess seeing is believing. After the classroom had finally cleared out, Elena joined Sophia by her desk. Ready to go home, Space Cadet? I think we've had enough excitement for one day. Definitely, Sophia said, gathering her things. Mom, thank you for coming. You were amazing. So were you, Elena said, putting an arm around her daughter's shoulders. Your presentation was spot on, clear, informative, and engaging. You'd make a great engineer yourself someday. As they walked down the hallway toward the exit, Sophia noticed people looking at them. But the looks were different now, curious, interested, even a little awed. No more snickering, no more disbelief. Do you think people will stop calling me NASA girl now? She asked. Elena squeezed her shoulder. Maybe not. But I have a feeling the name will have a very different meaning from now on. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright and warm. As they crossed the parking lot, Principal Garcia caught up with them. Ms. Martinez, before you go, I wanted to ask if you might consider coming back for our school's career day next month. Your presentation was exactly the kind of inspiration our students need. I'd be happy to, Elena replied. In fact, I might be able to bring a colleague or two from different departments. Give the students a broader view of the opportunities in space science. That would be wonderful, Principal Garcia said enthusiastically. And Sophia, I hope you'll consider joining our science club. We could use someone with your presentation skills and connections. Sophia smiled. I'll think about it. As they drove home, Sophia felt a lightness she hadn't experienced since before moving to this new town. The burden of being disbelieved, of being the odd one out, had lifted. How does it feel? Elena asked, glancing over at her. To have everyone finally know the truth? Sophia thought about it. Good, really good. But you know what's weird? Part of me doesn't even care what they think anymore. I know who I am and I know who you are. That's what matters. Elena smiled proudly. That's the most important lesson of all. Although, Sophia added with a grin, seeing Tyler's face when you walked in was pretty awesome too. Elena laughed. I may have timed my entrance for maximum effect. Best mom ever. As they pulled into their driveway, Sophia thought about the NASA Saturday Academy brochures in her backpack. Maybe she would apply after all, not because she needed to prove anything to anyone anymore, but because she was genuinely curious, because she wanted to learn, because, as it turned out, space really was pretty cool. And if anyone asked about her interest in space, she could simply say, My mom works at NASA. Only now, instead of mockery, the words would be met with respect, and maybe even a touch of envy. She wasn't just NASA girl anymore. She was Sophia Martinez, daughter of Elena Martinez, NASA engineer, and she was exactly who she was meant to be.